Welcome back, guys, once again to the channel. And today, still, I bring you the review of this week's chapter of the Seven Deadly Sins, 165 of its name, The Odd Couple. And again, as I said in the Fairy Tale video, I am 4 days late, and I am sorry for that. It's just this week has been a bit busy for me, a bit tiring as well, and so I've been kind of delaying the recording. But as a compensation, today, 3 videos. As last week, I will try not to make a habit of this, so I hope you guys can forgive me. So, enough of that, let us begin with the chapter. The chapter begins with a very interesting cover that summarizes what has been happening on the tournament so far. So, of the 3 fights we know are happening, well, we know as in what pairings are actually fighting against one another. We have Elizabeth and Elaine versus Tora and Jigmo, victory for Elaine and Elizabeth. Second fight, Meliodas and Ban versus the Blue Demons Dolzo and Galzo, victory, Meliodas and Ban. And now the third fight, King and Diane versus Dollar Golem and Gloxinia's Servant. It remains to be seen who the winners are going to be, but if you've read the chapter already, I bet your money is on one theme, the same as mine is, I believe. But let us begin, and this chapter begins in a very funny manner. It actually explains what we saw at the end of last chapter. If you remember, the last chapter actually showed us King bleeding, but not from an injury, or, well, if you want to consider that an injury, it's a pretty big injury. King was actually between Diane's boobies, and now we get why he was there. Because Diane actually didn't recognize him, and she thought he was just a little boy. So he picked him up, and book, just as I predicted, she doesn't remember him, and she thought he was weak, even though he's flying at the same height as she is. She's a young boy and weak, so put him between my boobies. And Diane charges, but and clash happens, and we go towards Loxinia and Dolor. And she asks Dolor, why are our golems fighting against those two? I want them to fight against Meliodas and Ban. But Dolor says that fate is the one that decided the matches. So there's nothing to be done. And as fate would have it, those two are a giant and the current fairy king. Coincidence? Some call it fate. GG. So, moving forward, we now go to the current time, more likely. It was not that big a flashback, but still. And King's already bouncing around and bleeding. And Diane is screaming at him, "You're not fighting, so don't pass out on me." And she's actually holding her ground against Dolor alone. But let us not forget, Dolor is not alone. And Gloxinia's doll actually traps Diane's foot so she can't move, and Dolor comes towards her to attack and gives her a flying spinning kick. Yeah, something like that, a flying spinning kick. And with all the jiggling around, King is actually comes to his senses and asks Diane to fight. And she still thinks he's a weak little boy. And he explains, I'm not a human. A human can't fly. I was flying." And he introduces himself as King and one of the seven deadly sins, just like her. But she thinks she's a liar because all the fairies she knows have wings and King doesn't have wings. That's an interesting thing. Why doesn't King has wings? Because we've seen some fairies so far. Some of them have wings, but Elaine didn't have wings. The other lady from the Fairy King's forest, the one that tried to kill Bam, she didn't have wings. King doesn't have wings, of course. Some other fairies don't have wings. Elbram, though, he had wings. Did he? Yeah, he did. And now Gloxinia has wings. So why does King not has wings? That's an interesting thing that I never actually thought about until now. I don't know, but King, in trying to make the unbelief is a fairy, does something that maybe he should not have done. He transforms to his old dude fairy form, which is not that cool as his original form, but that preceded the result that he was expecting, and that it was to be expelled from Diana. Well, he didn't want to be expelled from there, but given the current circumstances, it was the right thing to do. That's no time to be hanging around the humans and woman's sweet spot. So we are in the midst of battle, and thus battle shall be done. You can save that for later. And Diane actually throws King towards Gloxinia's doll. But King stops, and he says that the servant's face is familiar to him. Was this literally the first Fairy King's servant or helper? Was she the flower servant? Was she the first protector of the Fountain of Youth? Because King, being the Fairy King, or Harley Quinn being the Fairy King, had his sister Elaine protecting the fountain, whether it was her choice or a job that is passed through generation and generation. But King and Elaine were the top were the royalty of the fairies, him being the king and her being the protector of the Fountain of Youth. Loxini being the first fairy king, could this flower servant be a representation or actually a zombie of the first protector of the Fountain of Youth? It was an interesting idea that came to my mind while I was reading the chapter, so who knows? It might be, but even then the servant doesn't lose time and she wraps King around her vines so that Dolor can charge and try to attack him. I say try because King starts using Chastiefol, the fifth form increase, and he starts fighting Dolor. He changes to the second form Guardian to stop Dolor's charging, and it seems that he's actually holding his ground. And Gloxinia now realizes that King is no ordinary fairy. King is the Fairy King, Harlequin, and Gloxinia is quite surprised. But now comes the bad thing of the situation. Dolor and Gloxinia actually increase the power of their golems. This was expected and unexpected because yes, the dolls are already made from them, but I was expecting that they were already at their full power. But I guess not, being just clones, there is room for them to grow, and grow indeed they do. Dolor's golem gets like spikes all over his body, and Gloxinia's doll, I don't even. To be honest, she reminds me of a Christmas tree right now. I'm not joking. The the flowery trades of her dress remind me of a bottom of a Christmas tree. I don't know. But appearances don't matter because power is what it's all about. And as Castiefol charges towards Dolor, Dolor actually defeats Chastiefol and rips his head off, while King and Diane are talking. Well, King is talking. He says he has something he needs to tell Diane. And she says me as well, and he's like, "Oh, well, I was not expecting that. I'm the one declaring my feelings here." But no, she just says that his stuffed animal had his head ripped off. And indeed, poor Castiefol, he's all broken, and the lore actually smashes through it with his spinning drill kind of thing. And King states that that their powers has increased. And Diane charges to King's aid, and Dolores smashes through her head, and she gets smashed in the head. My guess is her memories have come back, but she's just a little woozy doozy right now, so she doesn't realize that. But come on, I mean, she got knocked in the head first. She lost her memories. Another knock should do the trick, and she's grabbed by Glockshinia's servant vines. And now I don't know who's going to pierce her heart, if it is Dolor's golem or something made from Glockshinia, but Dolor is the one that gives the order to pierce her heart. But it is not that simple because something stops Dolor's golem on his way. It's Dolor's golem, we can see here. And that is no one other than Harlequin and my god, Sacred Treasure Release. There's an upgrade to the sacred treasures. Now, is it only for spirit spear? Is it only for king and Castiefol? Or all the sacred treasures have a second state? Now that would be very, very interesting. Imagine the release of Gideon, of Rita, Escanor's axe, or even Meliodas' sword. I don't remember the name of the sword. Or I guess the bows from the twin bows from Gotha might have a release as well. The only sacred treasure we haven't seen yet is Bond's treasure because he lost it. Go figure. But King released Castiefol, and my God, what a mighty release! Look at this second form. What was once a cute teddy bear is now a monstrous beast bear. Yeah, very ugly. But as I said, appearances don't matter. Power is what it's all about. And my god, what a mighty end. A full page ending of King standing atop the released True Spirit Spear Castiefol. Now, it was a very interesting chapter. It didn't develop a lot in the battle as I was expecting, but that doesn't matter because things will unfold, new mysteries will unfold, especially the release of sacred treasures and the possibility of the An's memories coming back. Because, as the name of the next chapter says, chapter 166, what buds there? Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not that proficient at English, but buds is like when a flower seed or bulb actually sprouts and gives birth to a flower. I'm not sure, and once again, I'm sorry, my English is good, but it's not that good. I'm not native. So, my guess is that the next chapter will focus not only on King's battle, but as well on the development and the words are falling from the words are escaping me on the whole relationship between King and Diane. So those were my guesses, and yeah, that's it. Sorry about that. I punched my mic. And yes, I hope you have enjoyed it. Tell me in the comment section below what you thought about this chapter, what you think will happen now that King has released Chastiefol, and do you think that the other sacred treasures have a release date as well? Tell me in the comment section below. As I always said, and as I forgot to say in the fairy tale video, the comment section is yours to use and abuse. So I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I see you right away in the video of One Piece. Bye bye.